Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Glenda Dawson. This is LD. Welcome to Glenda's Dragons Den. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Conscious Awakening Network for letting us be a part of it. Look me up under Glenda's Magical Creations. That's the channel. And you will find everything there that we have been streaming and a few other things. So, welcome. Today, it's Wednesday, isn't it? Yes, it is. Today, we have this very special guest.
I should have worn my pigtails.
Oh, dear Lord.
Well, it's Wednesday.
We, this is the only time I have ever gone into fangirl mode is when I met Christopher Dicesare.
No pressure, Christopher.
At a place in New York where he was lecturing, and that was the only time people I have ever gone fangirl, well, except for Pitbull, but that's different. Christopher, welcome.
Thank you very much. When I was a little kid, I used to go with my father to watch the James Bond movies. I think Roger Moore was James Bond. And I always thought it was kind of cool, the life he led. You know, everything's wonderful. And he had to have the fancy cars and the planes and meet these girls and go to the casino. It just seemed like a really cool life, you know. And I wondered if one day Roger Moore would come into the movie theater and sit next to me and just talk about his movies. I always hoped to see the person who was in the films in the audience, and it never happened. And so I always told myself that I was ever in a spot where someone wanted to see me and talk with me, I'd really appreciate it. So I really appreciate your words. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me that you thought I was worth seeing. So
thank you.
And I just want to say that even though in the previous shows I have been on the other side of Glenda, I'm not sitting in between her and Christopher because of fangirl mode. It's just the way we chose to do it today. But anyone that does get a chance to see Christopher live, I suggest you do so because Glenda will tell you I've done a lot of live performances and I've met a lot of celebrities. And Christopher is one of the most engaging and down to earth and just charming people I've ever had the pleasure of spending an evening with. And then there was the event. But that's for the OnlyFans page. Yeah.
Everyone never tells. No, but thank you very much. My great grandmother. Well, I was very lucky that I was able to meet my grandparents and great grandparents. Everyone has that opportunity, and when you're young, you don't quite understand what that means. But my great grandmother went to school until the 6th grade, and then left school and worked in a handbag factory and tried to help support her family with her parents. She didn't ever gain any amount of fame. She didn't do anything notable or notable rather that made it in the papers. She didn't win awards. She didn't invent cures for cancer. But she was really amazing because she had a way of putting life in perspective. I remember I was 4 years old, and she lived in the city of Newburgh, which has some rough spots, like many cities do. And I remember she had a rose garden. So all around her property, there were broken glass windows and old tires and just junk like people's yards. But her yard was like an oasis. She had little flowers and roses. And things. I remember she took me out with a watering can, and she said, "Honey, come here." And she had me practice watering the flowers with her. And she said that flowers and children are the same. They both have to be fed and talked to and cared for. And if you take care of the flowers and the children, they grow big and strong. And I thought, that's pretty cool. And years later, you know, I went to high school, I went to college, and this crazy haunting happened to me. One of the very first things I did, I got back after the haunting was over, I went to my great grandma's house to help mow her lawn. And she made me this homemade meatball, Italian wedding bell soup, you know, which is really nice. And I'm out there mowing the lawn, and she says, stop. And I stopped, and she goes, come here. She goes, what did I tell you, honey, when you were small? It's been 16 years. And I said, oh, right, Grandma, you told me that flowers and children are the same. And and she goes, that's right. And she gave me a kiss in the cheek. And then she went back into her house. She's been gone now for, oh my gosh, 35 years. Her guard's been gone for just as long, but they're still here and they're still here, and so I really enjoy the gifts I've been given, and so people say, oh, you're so nice. Well, there's a reason I'm nice. I was lucky enough, blessed enough to have grandparents who talked to me and about blood being red and skin color not mattering, about being kind, about helping people, because you don't just know those things inherently. And my mom and dad, my mom gave everything to have me and to raise me. So if people say I'm nice or I'm kind or inspire, it's them. They put me a path that I could walk on, and thank goodness so far I think I've done a okay job, but it's them, and I'm really grateful for that.
Very good. It is nice when we can carry what we get taught.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's true.
So this haunting that you kind of talked about real quickly and moved
Yes.
on, we want to hear more about it.
Sure.
Let them buy the freaking book like everyone else.
Well, let me just start by saying that everyone has a lens. We have a viewpoint. And our viewpoints are formed by our experiences, by what we read and are exposed to in the media, and by our friends and relatives. Those things comprise what we view and see. And two people can see the same thing and disagree on what they're seeing. It happens. They can both be clear-eyed and paying attention and intelligent, but not see. So, and I use sports as the analogy. I use baseball sometimes and say, listen, if the Yankees play the Red Sox and say the Red Sox win 4-2, well, that's the facts. The Red Sox have 4 runs, Yankees 2 runs. The Red Sox fan will say, what a great game. We hit in the clutch, quality pitching, made the plays in the field and double play. Yankees fan says, that was terrible. The umpire made a bad call. Our hitters didn't do properly. So even though the people see the same exact thing, one person thinks it's good and is happy. One person right next to them thinks it's bad and are upset. So going into the haunting was strange to me. I didn't have a background or interest in paranormal things and the occult, nothing about that. My parents didn't talk about it, and I wasn't really exposed to it. And my dad said, listen, focus on things you can apply. And you really couldn't apply the idea of ghosts, so let's put it aside. So when I went to college, to Geneseo, and once again, I was fortunate. My dad had coerced me to being a good runner, and I became a very good runner. Before the show, we talked about that. I got a scholarship, and that let me go to college because we didn't have a lot of money. And I loved going to college. I saw new things and music videos and people dressed differently and they had new ideas and blue hair and no hair, and just it was crazy to see. I loved it. And then suddenly, my friend down the hall said, "There's a couple people coming to college. They're demonologists." What? What are they? Oh, they're demonologists. I'm like, well, that can't be good. He's like, the occult or something like that. No, but the Amityville Horror and Lorraine Warren. Let's go see them. I'm like, yeah, I'm busy that day with something else, right? But here's the thing, it's free. I thought, well, if it's free, I mean, what some time I could probably do free, So just almost on a whim, I went with him, and I'd never heard of them. But I got to the arena, the auditorium, it was packed. So I knew they must have been famous because you have young people, old people were like, oh, wow. And then I remember not knowing what to expect. And Edward came out first. Ed came out first. He was almost like a carnival barker. He had a booming voice, ladies and gentlemen, and his voice echoed across the seats. And then Lorraine came out, and she was very elegant. That's the word I would use. She just carried herself straight back and things. And the one thing I remember about my first impression was she spoke with you, not at you. And I liked that. Whenever you're hearing a story being told, whether it's true or not, it's nice when the person talks with you, so you're part of the process. And she said some strange things. She said that like attracts like. I'm thinking, no, it doesn't. Two magnets like poles repel, right? It's like, that's silly. And then, but she didn't mean science. She meant about spirits and intent and things like that. But I didn't understand that. And then they played these things they called EVPs. I'm like, oh, I don't know what an LP was, right? So there are these sounds, these growling and gurgling, and like after Taco Bell, you might have that sound in your house, I didn't know. And I thought, it was an interesting show. I enjoyed it. But Star Trek, I love. Game of Thrones, things like that. Star Wars, those aren't real, but they're fun to watch. They're enjoyable to watch, and the lore and things like that. So I get it. I said, I'm not offended by this. It's not real, but it's a fun show. It's free. I'm having a good time. I didn't really think that what she was saying or what he was saying would impact me until about 10 days later. And I was in my college dorm room working on a research paper, and I heard from over my shoulder my name being called, Chris. And I said, what? Who is it? Nothing. So maybe someone's at the door, and I heard again, Chris. I'm like, just the door's not locked. Come on in, please. I'm working on something. Chris. I'm like, oh my God, just open the door. So I got up, and there was nobody in the hallway, nobody outside. So I figured, maybe someone's playing a joke on me. I learned from running marathons, control your environment. I thought, you know what? If I can't hear them, they can't bother me. So what I'm going to do, I'll put headphones on, I'll play some music, and hey, problem solved, right? Back to my paper. I put on a CD, Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker. The album was called Voice of America VOA, and the song is called I Can't Drive 55. So, but no, I can't drive 50. So the song's playing. All of a sudden, I hear in the headphones, over the music, I hear, Chris. I feel him on the ground. I thought, what is going on? That's how the haunting began, by this impossible voice being heard. And the following night, I began to see this figure over my shoulder by the stereo, watching me, just watching, staring. And the most horrifying thing to me was not even that it was there, it's just the legs of this thing were coming out of the stereo. It was like inside the solid object, which is not possible. I knew that. So I thought either there was drugs in my food I consumed, or maybe there's a gas leak in the room, or I was losing my mind, or it's a practical joke, or all I knew is that it's not supposed to be happening. And so I disbelieved. This is not happening. Then it moved toward me. Then I screamed. I threw my candy in the air and I ran down the hallway. Oh my God, help me. Oh my God. And that's how people found out about the haunting.
Why you?
Everyone asks that question. People who win the lottery, people whose daughter have cancer. I mean, everyone asks why me and why does it happen that way. All the historical religious books talk about why me. You have Job and things like that. At the time, I didn't even ask the question. My first thing was, how to make it stop.
Right.
Then once I make it stop, then I'll ask, why me? So if someone's like beating you up, why are you doing it? First, stop hitting me in the face, and then we'll talk about it. So it's a quality question, but in the moment, I never asked it. I didn't ask who you were or why you're here, just make it stop. And so when people got photographs, I'd say burn them. People wanted to get these recordings. I don't want to hear them because I didn't have to be convinced. I wasn't looking for evidence. I was experiencing these things. It was helpful to them to understand what I was reacting to, and I understand the value now, all these years later. But I was in full survival mode, trying to listen to everything it said, write things down with Jeff. When did it show up? What's the weather that day? What I had for dinner that day? I just tried to understand why it was there. It wasn't violent at first. First, it was just annoying. It would like watch. The closet door would open up. They'd be in the closet looking at you. It's like, oh, and at nighttime I'd be sleeping, and then I'd feel it rub my foot. Like, stop. I'd wake up one night and the face would be right here in front of my face, and I'd scream, get away. So it was just really frightening to me. And because I couldn't sleep well, I wasn't going to college because I couldn't do my homework. And because I wasn't doing my homework, I was failing. Because I was failing, I couldn't do track. And all of a sudden, my world was to fall apart. Not intentionally, just I couldn't function. And so my roommate Paul actually said, let's go get a priest. Because in the movies, what do? You get a priest, and they raise their cross, and then the steam comes out, and the fire and the flames, and then the wings start showing up. There's blood everywhere, and then machine guns come out. We know it is in the movies, right? There's one naked lady, but that's all we knew to do. So we went to the church, and the priest came down, and he blessed the room, and he did that, and I don't know why exactly, but things calmed down. I don't know if it was the holy water, the intent, the verse, whatever he did or said, I can do right. It stopped things in my room. And I thought that's really wonderful. But a few days later, the attack started. I guess this thing wanted to be near me, and it obeyed what the priest requested, but was unhappy about it, and then began to attack me and Linda and Beth and everybody. So things really got worse after that.
But again, now all these years later, do you have an explanation as to why that happened to you?
I have a theory. Until I speak to it again, and not now, please, or until it's my time to go, I won't know for sure. But my theory is this, and I have this theory based upon what it told me back 37 years ago, and that what people have discovered through research subsequently over the years. So toward the end of the haunting, when I got brave, I wasn't brave most of the haunting. I would throw things and run and yell. But toward the end of the haunting, when things got really bad, I decided to step up and talk to it, just have a conversation. And Jeff always told me, my friend Jeff always said to me, if you do talk to it, ask quality questions. Ask questions that have closed ends to them, not how do you feel, but things like places and names. And this way we can maybe pinpoint that. In fact, Jeff was the one who kept the notes. He kept notes every single day for months. And that's how later on we were able to give these things to Sci-Fi Channel or Travel Channel and things, because they had these notes that were contemporary. It wasn't like written 20 years later. But with this, the concept of this thing being there, oh, so scary. Even a family pet that you love, a dog, a cat, might scratch or bite you if they're hurt and scared. And I think people are the same way. People sometimes hurt people, the ones they love, very badly because they're afraid. And I think, looking back, I think this person, the soul, was afraid and desperate and had been suffering for quite some time. And I think that in me, it saw somebody who could hear it, see it, and maybe help it. And so I think when I had the priest bless the room, was like, what are you doing? Don't do this to me. I think he got violent because of that. As to who it was is very interesting. I mentioned before I ran cross country and track, and we would run the same route most days, which is a 6-mile route. We go out in the countryside of Avon, New York, out in that direction, And when the attack happened for me, it was following that one jog out in that direction by that tree. And when I spoke to it, I asked they, where they were from. And very clearly, the spirit said Danville. Now, Dansville with an S is down the road. So I probably just heard it wrong, and right down the road, maybe some kid committed suicide, hung himself, who knew? That's what I thought back in the day. But we found out, oh my gosh, 20 years later, my mom did some genealogy that I had some ancestors who fought for the Patriots against the British. And they knew Benjamin Franklin. They gave their silverware up to sell for silver, to buy munitions and stuff, to help to fight for freedom and things. And I found out that there was a young soldier by the name of Thomas Boyd who was killed in a tree by my college, a tree I ran by regularly. And it turns out, we call this thing Tommy, by the way. It turns out he was from Danville, Pennsylvania. Like, oh my gosh. And according to Penn State University research, my ancestors, Adam Bernard Hubley, found his body and buried him. So I didn't know what happened in 1779. How would I ever know that? But thanks to my mom, Penn State University, Jeff, people around me doing research, they began to piece together bit by bit by bit. I'm like, no wonder. There was a time where I saw him out the window looking all mutilated. His fingernails were pulled off, his eyes gouged out. I mean, I thought he was trying to make me scared and like tease me and be cruel. He was showing me what happened to him, but
Right.
I didn't have the capacity or knowledge to understand that. So, the ghost was a cool concept. Here's a young kid in college. He has this ability to know about, talks to ghosts. That's cool. He's rocking. He's like some mutant power. The fact of the matter was, I mostly ran away going, But in that process, I was always kind. My friends supported me because I was a good person. We're supporting. I tried to share what I was seeing. And I always knew, Larry, I always knew that someday I would share this in a way that'd be helpful. I don't know how it happened. And that's where I am today.
And that's actually a lot of what I got, because you are very unique. I've met a lot of people, and Glenda's met a lot of people, and between the two of us, we have almost 120 years of paranormal work.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's older.
I'm older. So there's a quality in you that is a healing quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's helped your success as an educator, and a lot of other interactions that you've had in your life. And the fact that the Warrens opened your mind up to the concept
He did.
This all just kind of came together in a synchronistic, uh, energetic vortex that
Right.
brought all of this about and is bringing you forward still.
Yeah.
Because as I understand it, you're not done with this story.
No, it's not done with me either. I don't think. My
Well,
my friend Jeff has said since day 1 or 2, this is a story that wants to tell itself. It just doesn't stop. It just gets more and more interesting no matter what I do. You know, or I wouldn't tell people what happened to me for a quarter century, and yet still people are looking for me up at where's this Ghost Boy dude? I'm like, what? I didn't know. My first appearance on TV was on Sci-Fi. I didn't know what's going on. I spoke at some place, and then some guy says, "I'll give you a call." I'm like, okay. Next thing you know, I'm on Sci-Fi. I'm like, well, how did this happen? I never had any desire to promote myself. I'll show up and people like me. I say hello, and if they get something positive, that's a good day. You know, some big things. There's going to be a mini series about my experience, several hours on. I can't say any specifics, but on the world's largest streaming network.
and you'll make this known, I'm certain.
Once the contracts, I can sign what I can say on there. Yes, so in February we're going to go over the paperwork, and then we're going to film in April at some point in time, and then in the fall, probably September, you're going to see a lot of my funny face out there. And I just want to say this, that my dad had said to me, you know, people want to get rich or famous or popular, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with those things. He said, but you get rich, famous, popular by doing something you love very well. You don't get rich, famous, popular by through a meme or you know, a quick little quote or hurting people. If you do something really well, whatever it is, people will value that. And if you care, they'll care back. And that's how you achieve great things. So he said, your goals never be to be great, famous, or rich. But if it happens because you're a good person, embrace it. Because then you can model for other people. And thank you for your words. I have a hard time taking praise. I don't do well with that, but I appreciate words. And I think that if there's a secret to what I do, is I don't forget. I remember lying on the bathroom floor of that college with my back bleeding, unable to move either because of the cold or the fear or the injury of being attacked in that shower. And I thought I was dead. And I remember thinking, this is very unfair. I'm 19. I never did anything bad in my life. I was like a choir boy, you know, and my mom gave up everything to have me. And how is it fair that I'm being killed by this thing? In what way is this fair? Then I thought about the Holocaust and the millions of souls who prayed and cried, who had dreams and hopes, wanted to fall in love and explore the world and play music, and that didn't happen for them. And so I thought, you know what? I don't deserve that any more than they do. If this is my fate, I have one choice: remain calm and accept what this future is going to hold for me. I want my mom to see me in the casket with a calm face so she wasn't worried about me. That's why I thought about mom being okay with this. Luckily, Jeff came in. They found me in the ground, put clothes, and just took me out. But I was saved. But I never forgot knowing I was dying and couldn't. So every day I wake up, I'm happy about it. And I think because I've come so close to losing everything, that I appreciate everything. Look, I'm far from perfect. I get grumpy. I get opinionated sometimes. I get tired once in a while. My humor's terrible, but I do try my best. I honestly do try to be a good person, and I really try to care every day. I try to let people know that I, you know, like Lorraine Warren did for me. I see you and I hear you and I respect you. And teaching the students I teach, most of them are special education. Most of them come from very difficult backgrounds. No parents, one parents, physical abuse, mental abuse, terrible things. And I always tell them, listen, there's so much in my head for you, but you have to want to learn. I can't make you learn. All I can do is inspire you to want to learn. And then once you open your mind, great things happen. You know, if your parents are terrible, I get it. When you have your own kids, don't do that to them because you know what it feels like. Give them a proper childhood. You had great parents, copy them. Take the good things and apply it. You know, that was yesterday. Every day is a new page in your book. Page 4 is horrible. Do page 5. And that's how you live your life, I said. So, and the first day of school, what's on the board? Sci-fi. Oh my, you were on TV. Because these kids never on TV unless it's somebody they know getting shot. Unless it's somebody they know going to jail. And they like knowing somebody who's on TV for something good, something cool, who's talking with them because that means they have value. And I say, listen, anything can happen for you, but you have to start believing in yourself. And that's how I teach. And so far, it's been 21 years. It's been good. And I'm proud of what I've done and proud of the kids I've helped.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with something that you do, I think, at every appearance. You end the appearance taking a selfie.
I do.
And when you take the selfie, you make sure everyone there is behind you.
Wouldn't wave. Get away this time.
But a lot of people think, oh, that's really nice. You know, he's going to give me a selfie with him in it so that, you know, I have a memory of him. But I honestly, my sense of it is that you do it so that you can remember them.
Yes. In fact, most of the time I'm like this. Most of the time I'm like this, right?
I know.
It's not about me. I'm looking what's around me. It's me seeing the moment as a beautiful thing, just like me in the movie theater waiting for Roger Moore to come in. You know, this is my chance to be with people around who are happy, who are celebrating. The energy is strong and positive because those moments are sometimes few and far between. Every time you put the news on, something terrible is happening, right? And so there's negativity. So let's capture this moment. I'm here, but you're the reason why I'm here, and let's save the moment. So, and their memories on Facebook comes up on a certain date. That was a fun time. The food was great. Oh, he was okay too, but the food was really good that place.
Well, oh Lord, the reason that one spirit contacted you.
Do you want to know this, by the way?
I don't know anything.
Right.
Although I want to know Dairy Queen how to make the peanut butter parfait because that is really good. I think ice cream with the fudge and peanuts, but I'm not sure if they salt those things or not because I don't even. I'm wary because, and this is something I've discovered about that lens thing.
Yeah.
I have been told why this spirit was with me or followed me probably 600 times, and it's usually different every time. But I would encourage you to share your viewpoint because it'd be the correct one. It's just I don't know. All I know is I hope I helped it.
You have integrity.
I hope so. I mean,
that's exactly why. Because it knew that if it asked for help, you would do whatever possible to help it. I mean, you were young.
I mean, look at this kid. Look at this kid.
Getting attacked. Exactly.
Not a chance in heck, right? You can't do anything.
You were getting attacked, so you didn't know what to do. In those times, all they showed was, you know, something was chaotic in your space, so you called a priest. That's normal. You know, now we know that sometimes if we talk to them, it's just that they have frustration and they've been hurt, they've been made fun of so much that if you go in there and you say, I'm just here to talk,
right,
it calms the whole energy field down and they're able to communicate with you.
And so when they don't go home,
right,
they tend to become potentially very violent. Right. And so
I'm the same way. It's been 4 days away from home. I'll bite people.
I'll keep that in mind and I'll prepare. But because you called the priest in, then it felt betrayed. And so that anger.
But honor there too, integrity though. He still respected the priest's blessing. So he had integrity whether he knew it as well. And then when we brought the professor of psychology in to get the tapes, same thing, recordings, same thing. It complied with our request. It was very straightforward. But again, I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know what to. And people were relying on me. I mean, I never called myself as the ghost boy. There's the ghost boy. There's the ghost boy. And so it's not fair. It's your ghost, Chris. I'm like, no, my spirit's in me. Repent, Chris. I'm like, repent. I didn't. Everybody, it's tough to meet their expectations, not even what they were. All of a sudden, I had to walk on water. Otherwise, I was doing something wrong. And I just wanted to play baseball and run and sing and dance. And, I just wanted to live my life as a kid. But hey, I shouldn't complain because here I am and this is a nice opportunity, right? So I made the most of it. And maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Maybe I was supposed to be in this spot doing good things.
And you are a wonderful representation of that transformation from almost being at death's door to where you are now, helping people to understand, first of all, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And that's why we run the center, or Glenda runs the center. That's why, you know, she does what she does. But you've been such an incredible representation of the positive unity of the paranormal. That I can't think of anyone else that I know, and we've worked with a lot of people. A year and a half ago, Glenda was on the metaphysical committee for the world's largest ghost hunt at the house that Andrea Perrin grew up in.
Oh, what, Rhode Island? Yeah.
And they actually had John Zaffis there, and he actually got to talk to his aunt and uncle for the first time in that house.
Right.
So, you know, the Warrens are connected to that house as well, as you, I'm sure, probably will know.
Yes.
So, you know, we, in our way, try to, you know, help people to make peace and understand. And if, in fact, they're having a negative experience, you know, we call it remediation and resolution, because, you know, there's a lot of free will involved in this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when you call a priest in, a priest can create a tremendous amount of positivity and protection against the paranormal. Depending on what it is, sometimes it lasts and sometimes it changes, because, you know, just like everything else, nothing is really static. You know, energy can't be created or destroyed. It just transforms. So all of this goes into it. But why don't you go and say what you were about to say, honey? I just wanted to make sure he was ready to hear it. It's not everybody wants to hear it.
Basically,
earmuffs.
No, he was looking, because he has a connection to your family, to your lineage, even though it was just a matter of being at that place at that moment, your ancestor, whatever.
And they had the kindness to give him a burial.
Right, a proper.
It's true, his physical form. And I'm the one that had to take for his spiritual form, I guess, years later, right? I guess.
Right.
Finish the deal. I didn't know that contract.
He was trying to find a way home, I guess, into the white light. You did give him the priest, and you did, towards the end, at some point, did give him peace enough.
He kept saying, please help me, Chris, please help me. Every time we got the tape recording going in the Max Solo tape recorder there, every time. And so when I finally was brave to talk to him, I said, you know, you want my help. I can't do anything. I'm just some guy, except to tell you, find rest. Whatever you did can be forgiven. There's always somebody who still loves you. So all I can do with my limited mindset is to tell you the one thing I know. You're still loved, but you can't stay here. You need to move on and rest. And that's all I could say to him. And guess what? It seemed to have been enough.
Mm-hmm. He was looking for forgiveness. He
was
carrying a lot of guilt. So
the movies are cooler.
And I do say a he, because I do feel it's a he.
It looked like a he to me.
Yeah. So
now, when you do execute this contract and produce this miniseries, will information be available on your Facebook page?
Oh yeah, technology, that stuff. Social media. Yeah, of course. Yeah, in fact, the company, Upstate New York company that publishes my books and published and produced Please Talk With Me, they're going to be handling that. They're going to be doing all that for me. And
but it'll also be on your Facebook page.
Of course. Of course. You know how I am.
Let's put that up there.
So everybody gets popping today. You know, I just, of course, I do what I can.
There it is.
You know, I have to say I'm a little proud, because from what I'm told, my kids come over and I do. Netflix is pretty cool. Netflix. Whenever it could, we had like MGM and Fox and those things like that, right? But I guess Netflix now is the deal. So I suppose I should be honored that they're willing to do something for me if that's the place it's going to be, you know?
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be a place of that caliber,
Right.
if
And they've
not
been
that.
very nice to me. They've been very kind, very professional. I've really had such positive professional relationships with people before. We've been talking now for 10 months. Been working on this for over a year, this project, and nothing but professionalism, kindness. So I really like them, and that helps when it's nice to trust people who are sharing your experience, you know. And I was lucky that I had that with Please Talk With Me. That's this right here. This is a cool docu-horror from back 10 years ago.
Right.
Bill Edwards was the producer and Mark who directed it, and they're great people. I trusted them, and it paid off. So sometimes you need to trust and look at the better
Well,
angels, and I've been very lucky.
And you do have that intuitive sense of who you can and who you can't.
Usually,
Yeah.
if there's ice cream, then no, I just lose it.
Yeah, well, we all have our.
Here, take my car. Oh, wait a second. Don't do that. Too late.
And where can someone get these books? I think
Oh.
we have that as well. We'll put that up.
Yeah, let me give a primer if I can. This is because people get confused sometimes. The first book written was done about 12 years ago by Tim Shaw, and John Zaffis, who you mentioned, did the foreword. John Zaffis, Wonder Collector. So that's the
Nice.
first book ever. It's like a primer. It's really good if you want just a basic overview of what happened back in the day, and that's Cedar Productions, right? .com, I think. I don't have a
Yeah, I
link.
think we have that. We should be able to. There we go.
There it is. Yes, and then about 7 years ago, the case study with the priestess in here, people, the photographs, the police officer, my roommate, my friend. So everybody who was part of this is their data, their observations, their reflections, and the information, the pictures and stuff. Case study. That's cool too, right? And now this year with the new miniseries is going to be my bio. So it's going to be my memoir about everything I sensed and heard and touched and thought and believed. So trying to let them go safely through an extreme haunting. And hopefully they'll get some positive ideas from this so that they can help people beyond me. Because as you know, energy is eternal, but we are not in our physical form. So I want to make sure that once my physical form goes to sleep for a while, or was I? Sorry. Yeah. That there's something beyond me that can still be accessed.
I was going to put a flower on you.
Very nice. You have a nice flower.
Lily. Somebody get
Baseball
Lily.
card, what?
Oh,
Lordy.
that's my pathetic friend Gwen.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. But it's good because you are actually in those 3 books doing 3 different aspects.
Yes. That's the idea. You want to make sure that everything has a value. And so putting it, some people put out 35 books in a year. I don't understand how they can even write that many. That's fine.
I don't know.
Like 9 pages and like, you're just trying to make money. I mean, I'm not criticizing them, just that's what you're doing, right? You're gonna here's my 94th book this year because that's cool. But I don't like doing that. If I'm part of something, I want to make it good. I want to make it worth people's time. And people know me. I give so many away. I probably give away 50 books a year. Just like, I have no money. You know what? Just take it. People are like, dude, that's don't worry. How much money you make this weekend? Oh, let's see.
I think I got my car fare.
$45. Yeah. Just, I don't do it for that reason. I honestly don't. I really feel that what happened was interesting, and I think that people can benefit from what people do to survive certain situations. And I'm honored that people do find some value with it. I just keep using the same words: lucky, blessed, honored, because I am. That's the big deal, And I hope that these people who make the miniseries focus the fact that, hey, listen, it's not one person. It's just I'm only here because people around me believed in me, otherwise I wouldn't be here, and I'm very aware of that.
Well, we generally try to explain to people it's best to work in the light for a lot of different reasons, and we only work in the light, and that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is because a lot of people hear the paranormal and they have the whole dogma of, oh no, that's evil, and evil's a big fear's a big seller right now.
Right.
It
So
always has been.
but to have someone like you who has come through it and documented it and done so much good. I mean, you have 21 years of preparing children for adulthood.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And, to me, there's really no higher calling.
Thank you.
To trust a child to someone and have them come out perhaps even more open to
Right.
doing what they can because they've seen how much power there is in positivity as opposed to negativity.
Right.
And to have someone like you on this program, I think is just why we brought it back. It's just wonderful to be able to, share you and the story. And frankly, it's something I've wanted to do since we went to that particular uh, venue and heard you speak.
Well, you're very nice people. I mean, I genuinely enjoy speaking with you, whether it's in this format or face to face or at a restaurant. You're very nice people, and I enjoy that too. So I just want you to know that the impression about people being positive and good and inspirational is right back at both of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, negativity needs to feed on itself.
Yeah.
Positivity resonates at a higher frequency, and therefore it supports, and the ripples go out there, and the resonance supports. So in the end, the negativity may have a sudden impact that feels more powerful, but in the long
Yeah.
run, the positivity
It's
is
temporary. It's
always.
temporal.
Right.
Yeah, temporal.
So, what else have you been up to in these last?
I want to shout out some people. Can I?
Yes, of
I want to
course.
thank my friend of 37 years, Mr. John Jeff Unger, who ran into the fire basically when the haunting was there and took the photographs and got the notes and believed in me. His birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday to my friend. I want to say thank you to him. I want to say thank you to my friend Alan Lewis, who sort of right after that and was able to find years later Father Charlie Manning and Paul Anderson, and who's working on his own book about some of these things. I want to thank Marika Tria, who really springboarded me with the film she made about what happened to myself and my friends and created that amazing work of art. I want to thank my buddies Michael Lewis and Phil Casey and Vince DeVera, who ferried me around for the past couple of years and going to places I was just too tired or too old or too grumpy to do that on my own. They're just great people. I love you guys. And I met a nice couple, John and Nancy Larson in New Jersey, good friends there. So I just want Barry Martz. There are people who show up, Kathleen Wilson, over and over to say hello and support me. I love you guys. I just want you to hear it, that I really do appreciate you. And I thank you for your friendship.
So I'm going to go out on a limb. You're not someone that goes out and does paranormal investigations. Is that fair to say?
Who was president last time I did that? No, I don't. I have experienced, by what I understand, the Holy Grail. A full body apparition, conversations, photographs. I mean, there's nothing more for me to prove. So they're looking, cool, look, I've seen enough. I'm good. And the problem I had was that I'm also very nice. And so when the sci-fi show came out, I was a celebrity for a while. Ooh, he was on sci-fi. And people invited me to their events. And they pay for my hotel room or nice things. And I was like that. And they say, okay, so you talk at 8 o'clock and then 10 o'clock, ghost hunt. What? Ghost hunt. I'm like, oh no. So I would do that because I was polite, but I never wanted to. So eventually I worked the courage up to say, listen, I'll come to the event, but I'll sit in that chair over there. And but I just don't. I don't have any interest in that. And it's just me personally. That's just how I am. I don't want to bring anything home with me anymore. I've seen enough. I think I've learned enough, and I checked that box. So I think that's fair. And I don't mean to be rude. I mean, everybody should pursue their own journeys. I've been married now for 34 years. I checked that box. That's cool. You know what I mean? I don't have to have 19 wives. I like, I love, I appreciate, and so I'm satisfied with what I experienced. I think that's enough. A lot of other people have their chance.
And again, to me, that's a hallmark of who you are and why you were chosen to do this, because there are people that still haven't heard about it, and there are people that still can benefit
Yes.
from all of what you've been able to put together by focusing on this one event. Glenda and I don't do investigations anymore either because we know it's there.
Right.
We get called in when people have started up and they're over their pay grade. Yeah. And Glenda's able to go in there and have that conversation and find out the best way to remediate it and calm it down and resolve it so that everybody can coexist on one manner or another.
Right.
So, that's why she's basically spending most of her time here in the center, helping people develop their clairs and, as a Reiki practitioner, you're familiar with Reiki?
Also, egg clairs.
Yeah.
That's my clair. I don't have other clairs. I have egg clair once in a while, so that's okay.
Is that with the cream or with the custard?
What do they put in there? I'm fine.
Okay. Well, I mean,
they're nice. I trust them. Wait,
it's
arsenic? That's not good.
Almonds.
I trusted you. and scene.
But just the fact that you're not, it doesn't consume you. Like you said, you are comfortable with the niche that you have of sharing your story, and you don't need to go out and get that thrill every weekend.
So temporal, if you're saying temporal, I understand, and of course we understand wanting to achieve things and do things, but I love it when I can help somebody get what they want to get. If I can make a phone call for somebody, if I can have a conversation with somebody, if I can get someone to a speaking spot someplace. I like when I can help other people share their information. I really enjoy that a lot. It means a lot. And not only is it a good feeling, catharsis-wise, also what I'm doing is I'm also pushing forward that legacy of kindness, of help us. I believe your message, insert name here. I want to get you to speak at this location. People want to hear what you have to say. And this way, that good keeps going forward because I know the person I recommended will do the same for somebody else. It sounds very cliche, I know, but it feels good and it works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where your success is rooted. And that's, Matthew, you met Matthew briefly.
Yes.
His grandmother used to say, well, look what dragged them up, when people would, and you weren't dragged up. You were schooled and parented to the best of the ability of your great grandparents. I think you had some contact with, and your grandparents,
my parents, lucky sisters.
Yeah. And so you are trying to fill in those gaps for some that weren't perhaps as fortunate as you. You mentioned that your students don't all have even one parent.
Most don't. They go from foster home or residential facility or setting, or from relative to relative, and it's tough. And it's kind of ironic in a sad way that sometimes school, which most kids hate, is the one constant source of safety. They get food and gym and art and music, education, a nurse. It's sad that would be the best thing. I want to go to school today, but it's beautiful in that we have that ability to provide a place where everyone can go in those doors as equals. Doesn't matter how much money you have, what your parents do, come in the building and learn. Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that public education is the great equalizer, and I like that a lot.
And in fact, that's one of the things that I was impressed in my public education by. I also went to a state university college.
Really?
Yeah, mine was Fredonia.
Always muddy there. Oh, I ran there. Oh, it was just mud in the field. What the heck? Sorry, it's not your fault. I apologize.
No, it's okay. That's also a teacher's college, so that wasn't what I actually went there for performing arts. But I didn't register for performing arts because if you didn't make the audition, you didn't go. So I came in as a psych student.
I see.
And just took over performing arts. But with you, when it was my turn to educate Matthew, I was very strongly a proponent of the public education system.
Right.
for that reason, because it does show you the spectrum as opposed to
Yeah. And
the
they
little
see it
niche.
too. The students also now will socialize, interact with, and learn with students who might not have the same area code or income bracket or philosophies or religion or mindset. And that's why I like sports too, because on a team, you can come from Guatemala, Canada, you can come from Czechoslovakia, California. You speak different languages, different faiths. Yet, but in those moments, you're a team and you can overcome the barriers that we put up sometimes falsely between us to either make money or to feel safe, And so I like sports for that reason too. And I ran cross country and track in college. And I loved that. When I was in high school, I was numero uno. I was a big fish in a small pond. Get to college, it's every small pond's big fish in a big pond. And all of a sudden, you're not cruising ahead. You're going, just trying to keep up the seventh spot and make the varsity team. And that was compelling to me because I asked myself, do I have what it takes? Can I push myself and train hard enough and believe in myself to make the varsity team as a freshman? And I did, not because of talent. There's some talent because I really wanted to see if I could do it. And I was inspired by people running. You inspire me to be like you. I ran with the faster guys, and that's how I got better.
Well, what you've described is what I like to call the illusion of separation, because only by separation can people be more easily managed. If everybody's together, it's kind of hard to take over that crowd.
Right. Yes.
And that to both of us, I'd say, is the hallmark of what it's about right now, of just everybody working together to try and resolve some of the challenges that we face, and the paranormal is one of them.
Yes,
because that's getting a lot of power lately, just from the
Yes.
negativity.
Yeah. Well, as we both mentioned, that negativity sometimes sells. I mean, and that's just not the paranormal. Look, like you don't hear about marriage, you hear about divorce. Never who was born, you hear about who died. It's almost like you just to hear the bad things because people want to know that my life's better than your life. So there, it's just a tough way to go through that mindset to ever be happy that way. And I don't know. I really, I'm not that wise, but I'm kind of old. I really become to respect people who can remain positive through hard times, through divorce, illness, through bankruptcy, all these things. I admire people who can lift their head up through hard times. It's not easy, and sometimes I know you both know this. You both express this to me. You sometimes know somebody when you first meet them. Not everything about the details, but you know who they are. And I like knowing people. I like knowing that. And I like that there are people like yourselves out there who will celebrate others, who will appreciate others because it's not a guarantee. So, I was home tonight, I was working on some things, and I remember, that's right, I have the show tonight. It made me happy, because I knew I'd be amongst good people. I don't always
he
think that way
even
when I go on
combed his
shows.
hair. He
You
combed
know,
his hair.
I did brush. Oh, it's kind of good. It's
I
still
comb
a
both of
mullet.
mine.
See,
I'm
it's like old
jealous.
school. Isn't that funny? So
But
yeah, because again, the concept is for this mini series, I want to let people be able to see the photographs from a billion years ago and say that's still the same dude rather than beards. And so I'm trying to recreate that look for continuity's sake in this program, so people can say, "Oh, that's him for sure."
well, if I understand you correctly, what you're describing is the big picture, and it's really the big picture that we are here to be in. People that get
Yeah.
caught up in the minutia and the details, there's an old saying that God's in the details, and I believe that, and I give that to God because, I am not claiming ever to be omniscient, and without being omniscient,
Right.
you're just kind of shooting in the dark in the details. You're.
Sometimes, yes.
But if you just try to live that goodness and express that goodness, then you're accomplishing something. Someone somewhere will be touched by that. And a lot of people, Christopher, are touched by you because,
Yes.
you know it every time you show up for an event. And I'm sure there's some trepidation whenever, before you go out there.
Always.
But in the end, you feel that love. And that love is a reflection of the love that you put out there. and it's obvious. And I personally, I think Glenda's with me. If you guys can ever see this man in a room and listen to what he has to say and experience him, please, avail yourself of that. It's I don't think I've ever seen it to be expensive. Um,
Oh.
Go,
Yeah.
go and
get his books. They're really good, very good detail. You can really go into the story and live it and live it. The
You,
details are beautiful.
I mentioned, you mentioned your son. I mentioned my parents a little bit about family. There's no one way to have a family. There's no one way to celebrate a family or make one, but families are super important for the memories that they can create in you. In the darkest of times, you can look back in your head and think of a good moment you had with someone that you're bonded with. And I remember in the early years of my marriage, we got married very, very young, probably foolishly young, and had children so young. But once the children are born, I wanted to be a good dad for them. And when you don't have a lot of money, it's tough. And I remember two things. I remember my daughter, she was about maybe 4 or 5 years old. We were in Walmart, because Walmart's where you go when you have little money. We feel better about buying Chinese products, but you have to survive. And I can't afford to pick, who's making my stuff when I'm a young kid, So
Right.
we're in Walmart, and I was getting paper towels, some milk, some bread, very basic supplies, I think like ramen noodles. And my daughter saw on the shelf this purple sparkly baton. Like, yay, killer baton. Her eyes, Dad. She ran over, little kids have big heads, their hair, ponytails. Says, Dad, I love this. Can I have this, please? I will do so good. I'll make my bed. I'll do my homework. Please, can I have it? It was $9. I did not have $9. And I gave the parent answer, maybe next time. And she looked at me and she said, I know why, Dad. I said, why? We're poor, right? And I said, yes, we're poor. And I felt bad that she had less than. I wasn't a bad person, but sometimes you have to find your way in life. And she said, that's okay, Dad, I love you anyway. So as she got older and did things I didn't like, I remembered that she said, for my son, 2 years later, I asked him one for Christmas. He wanted a star for the tree. We used to have paper things together, and we said, so for Christmas, I went out and got a light up star. And then 4 o'clock in the morning, he wakes up, Dad. I'm like, what? He goes, and I could see his eyes sparkling. He goes, look, on the tree, it's a star. Is it real? And I said, yes and no, but mostly yes. And so he did things I don't like over the years. As a teenager, I still remember those moments because I knew in their heart, I knew when push comes to shove, thank God, my wife and I, we had created two good people.
Mm-hmm.
Not perfect people, not people that will do what I say when they want to do, and they'll make mistakes, of course, but I knew they were good kids, and that to me is priceless. When someone comes up to me and says, thank you for sharing your experience, thank you for talking to me, I really feel it. It sounds so silly, I know, but
Yeah.
I love the fact I can be part of a process that we can share in our minds forever. Just a beautiful thing to me.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt that because it's absolutely beautiful and it captures for me the essence of who you are. But we are out of time.
Almost out of time.
Yeah. And so next week
we actually have two good friends of yours. We have Ron Giacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez.
They're incredible. I tell Ron and Lourdes, I am the past, you're the future. Great people.
Well, you're not so much the past either because you got stuff going on, dude.
Yeah.
Why I oughta.
But thank you, Chris,
Yes.
as your original fangirl. No, I really appreciate you being here, sharing part of yourself, and showing people that no matter what we go through, we could still be genuine.
Yes.
And we look forward to that miniseries, whatever network it winds up on. I'm sure it'll be the same caliber and quality of the person they've chosen to film.
Thank you. Boom, boom, boom.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Thank you, Chris.